السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Today we're speaking about a strange love. We've been talking about good love. Today it's bad love. A love that we shouldn't have. And that is the love of sins and loving to commit a sin against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the worst disasters that can befall a believing man or woman. That they love the fact that they're sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or they only derive enjoyment when they believe that what they're doing is angering Allah azza wa jal. And this is a true story from one of the early Muslims. And it's a very scary story of this man who was married and he used to go to another woman and to commit adultery, to commit zina with her at night. And his wife found out about that. So she agreed with that lady that they're going to switch places. And Allah, use your imagination. Maybe they were the same height and same all the other stuff and borrowed her perfume, these things. And back then they didn't have electricity in the house, so she goes early. And when her husband comes, he's thinking it's that woman. He stays the night with her because they switch places. And in the morning before light comes, she rushes back to her house. And later on, in the later part of the morning, the husband comes back home. And she tells him, the woman that you were with last night, that wasn't fulan, that wasn't so and so, that was me. I switched places with her. And he said one of the most horrible things you will ever hear. He tells her, أعوذ بالله ما أحلاك في الحرام وما أقبحك في الحلال. He said, how wonderful you are when it's haram, and how horrible you are when it's halal. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Yani basically, it's the same woman. But the man only found enjoyment when he felt and thought that he is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The great scholar Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he comments on when someone feels happy for committing a sin. And he says that your happiness for committing this sin is more of a sin than the sin itself that's causing you the happiness. The fact that you're happy because you're sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worse than the action itself that you're doing. So the scholars say then that whenever someone sins against Allah, major sins, minor sins, they all share one quality. And that is the person had no haya in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And haya, there's no direct English word for haya, but it's a combination of feeling shy, bashful, modest, and self-respect also is in the meaning of haya. And the scholars say the word haya comes from the word haya, which means life. So it's as if to say whoever has haya will have the essence of life in them. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that what has remained from the sayings of all prophets before, we have the following. إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. If you have no haya, then do as you please. The scholars give two explanations for this hadith. One of them, it's saying that if being ashamed, if you're not ashamed to sin in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't have enough self-respect to not want to sin in front of yourself, and you're not even ashamed to sin in front of people publicly or let the public know, then nothing will stop you. That's what the hadith is saying. Because a lot of times, someone might be ashamed of a sin, he would not tell it to people. So at least he has the haya in front of others. And maybe he didn't have too much haya in front of Allah azza wa jal, or maybe he did have haya and afterwards he ran and made repentance and tawbah. But if you don't have haya in front of Allah or in front of yourself, and you don't even care if people know, then you tell me, what will stop the individual? Nothing will stop you. So the hadith is saying, if you have no haya, nothing will stop you, so do as you please. That's one explanation. The second explanation is that the hadith is a threat. That is saying, there's nothing that can stop you because you don't have any haya, so do as you please, but you'll pay for it. You'll pay for it. You'll get it on the day of judgment. So, having haya in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's one of the things that will stop someone from getting to the level, wal-'iyadhu billah, where they feel happiness from committing a sin, or even become addicted, or only feel pleasure if they believe that they're angering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a horrendous and a horrific level to get to. But one of the ways to combat that constantly is to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the hadith of forbidding evil The famous hadith, the Nabi ﷺ said, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. We want to focus on the last part. The hadith is so intelligent because perhaps you might be in a situation, in a society where you're not even able to speak against an evil, which also means write against it and so on and so forth. But at least one thing that nobody can take away from your heart is to hate the sin. No one can take away that from your heart. And if people even stop hating the sin, what will happen? It will start to become common and people will start to do it and they will start to get addicted to it and only find happiness when they're angering Allah Azza wa Jal. And so hating the sin is something nobody can take away from you. But I did want to close with a reminder that you can love an individual and still hate their sin. So you can hate the sin and still love the sinner. As many scenarios where, let's say someone reverted to Islam and their mother is still upon shirk. Does he have to hate his mother? He doesn't have to. He loves her and he hates her shirk. Or someone's father drinks, he loves his father, but he hates the fact that he drinks or hates that particular sin. And it's important for us to not confuse these two. But this is a type of love that is not a good love, loving sins. And we said we'll combat that with constant returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan for your attentive listening. Sallallahu wa barak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.